It's been a furious 45 minutes behind the scenes. And I'll be honest with you, I'll just start the show with some unbelievable ridiculousness. Like CBS Sports Dennis Dodd, who I think is one of the best reporters in the business. I think Dennis Dodd has been a wonderful journalist throughout his career. And it's not like Dennis Dodd is... Oh, let me steal the phrase from somebody who just called me and said, "What do you want? You're an idiot on YouTube." Right? Like at a university, which we're going to talk about, but I'm not going to name. So Dennis Dodd writes a piece today. And frankly, it is a bombshell. It is shocking. Dennis Dodd has a story today that says San Diego State led a coup against the Mountain West Conference. San Diego State fails in an attempt to create a new Power 5 conference with Pac-12, Mountain West, and AAC members. And in this story, he goes on to detail how San Diego State President Adela de la Torre was leading a push to assemble what would have amounted to a breakaway of the best teams from the Mountain West, the American, and the Pac-12 leftovers of Cal, Stanford, Oregon, and Washington State. That's what sources told Dennis Dodd. I have no reason to believe that Dennis Dodd lied about this, made this up. No reason to believe that at all. But apparently J.D. Wicker, the much esteemed and well-talked about athletic director on this show, says this is fake news. Doesn't dare come out and say it's not true, that it's a lie, that it never happened. Doesn't dare come out and say that. We, by the way, sent a request to San Diego State today to have J.D. Wicker on the show, and they said, just flatly said, no, he's not going to come on. We're going to pass. He's not coming on the show. Because, again, when you call somebody a liar, which is what I'm assuming J.D. Wicker's doing on Twitter today with Dennis Dodd, when you call somebody of Dennis Dodd's accomplishments, somebody of his professionalism, when you call them a liar and you refer to them as fake news, you don't dare go on, shows and answer questions about it. Like, hey, are you saying with fake news? Because, of course, we use the fake news now as a term that doesn't necessarily mean it didn't happen. No, that's just a term we throw out there to deflect from what the truth is. And so when I get a call from somebody at a school we might be talking about, but we don't want to, divulge, and they chew us out and tell us that, hey, you don't know what happened. And then when you say, well, hey, is it a lie? They move on to, well, it's just wrong what you're tweeting right now. But is it a lie? Right? It's ridiculous to me that San Diego State continues to repeatedly damage their brand. And I don't even know how you go about working through this. Because if you believe Dennis Dodd's story, and I do, he works at CBS. Dennis has covered this game for as long as I've been around. Dennis Dodd claims that Adela de la Torre, the president at San Diego State, tried to take the biggest members of the Mountain West, the remaining 4 in the Pac-12 and several from the American, and start a conference that could keep the P5 designation from the Pac-12. Now, sources told us almost immediately, it was comical, Dennis Dodd published this story, and sources tell us that was dead on arrival. It never got off the ground. That there was no support for the plan in the Mountain West, and that it really was not anything that was even close to getting talked about, planned, going to happen. But it's miraculous to me that San Diego State keeps doing this. And the question I have is, how long is the Mountain West going to put up with this? How long is the Mountain West going to allow San Diego State to be in a position to damage this conference? I don't know, if you are the Mountain West, how you can allow this to happen. Because now I think you have to look at San Diego State, and I don't know, Jake, if I'm wrong about this, but I think you have to look at San Diego State is somebody inside your own house trying to do damage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know where San Diego State gets off thinking that this is acceptable behavior. I don't know where you get off thinking that you're somehow a power brand. And I love all the guys on Twitter, all the people that call us, all the San Diego homers who want to say, hey, yeah, we're a P5 team waiting to happen, and we're this great brand, and you want to send us GIFs and memes and graphics about how San Diego State's one of the most dominant college football teams on win percentage over the last decade, even though they haven't done anything that anyone cares about. Why do you think they have a high winning percentage? Yeah, because they play in the Mountain West, right? Put them in the SEC and let's see what it really is. Put them in what was the Pac-12 and let's see what it really is, right? So San Diego State fan has an issue with little brother syndrome. And I would say J.D. Wicker has an issue with little brother syndrome because you don't want to talk about the reality of the situation, which is you don't deserve a pro rata, right? There's all this confusion about, pro rata and what that means. And there are some people who have said, hey, it's just a catchphrase. It's just a term that is used in the media. No, it's a contractual term that quite literally translates to equal share, right? It doesn't translate to full share in a P5. It translates to an equal share based on your value. That's what a pro rata is. So, for me, I just get burned out on the guy who's like, yeah, San Diego State's amazing. They're incredible. Is San Diego State a value proposition to certain P5s? Sure, there's a conversation there. There's not a conversation at 31.7. There's not a conversation at, 40 million in the SEC or 100 in the Big Ten or whatever it is. There's not a conversation there because you haven't earned that yet. You're not playing a P5 schedule. You're not playing the best of the best. So when you sent a letter announcing you were leaving the Mountain West, you thought that meant that you were getting out of your grant of rights, and you thought that meant that you could just go to the Pac-12, which is not the case.
Clearly not the case.
Any way you slice the pie here, again, and I have no problem saying it because San Diego State continues to run from accountability over and over and over again. J.D. Wicker and Adela De La Torre have brought shame to their school, and there's no other way around that.
And the incidents, and I want to lay this out correctly because obviously there's a ton of San Diego State fans who listen to this show. I know we have a big following in the Mountain West Conference. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. San Diego State's issues, as I see them, whatever this was with the Pac-12, the letter that San Diego State wrote, clearly withdrawing from the Pac-12, the plant that J.D. Wicker gave a quote to Seth Davis at The Athletic that was planted in The Athletic where J.D. Wicker said, we are leaving the Mountain West. I don't know if we're going to the Big 12 or San Diego or the Pac-12, but San Diego State's going to be somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, here we are 2 months later, and they're still in the Mountain West. They went through the whole stunt of sending a withdrawal letter to the Mountain West that they claimed then was never a withdrawal letter from the Mountain West, even though it was exactly the terms that are laid out in the Mountain West Charter for withdrawing from the conference. And then Adela De La Torre said, hey, we're confident that we'll get the pro rata we deserve from the Pac-12.
Oh, what are you talking about, man?
And now Dennis Dodd at CBS writes a story that says San Diego State tried to lead a revolt out of the Mountain West with the biggest brands, and J.D. Wicker's answer is fake news, disappointed in the number of absolute fake articles that get written these days. And yet San Diego State will refuse to elaborate on what this statement is. I have directly asked Jamie and Sports Information at San Diego State, what are you saying? What is J.D. Wicker saying? Did the events in this Dennis Dodd article not happen? Did Adela De La Torre not lead, a push to assemble what it would have amounted to a breakaway of the best schools in the Mountain West? The American and the remaining four in the Pac-12? Did Adela De La Torre not try to put that together? Is that what you're saying when you say and you make serious accusations And if I'm Dennis Dodd, I'm already calling an attorney on this, where you said Dennis Dodd wrote a fake article and it's fake news. Because I have a hard time believing that Dennis Dodd is writing a story that's 100% fabricated and he made it up and it's fake. But will J.D. Wicker be held to account on that?
No.
Will San Diego State in any way, shape, or form, say, well, here's what J.D. Wicker meant? No, Adela De La Torre was never involved in that. Because that's what we've asked. They were happy to say, no, we're not going to come on your show in 2 minutes. They were happy to blow up our phones and, be all upset about Twitter. But now when you ask for a line-by-line explanation of, hey, did you or did you not? And I don't even mind screen sharing to you what I sent to the gentleman, because I think it's really important that you guys understand, and especially for the San Diego State contingent that watches this show, because I know that we have many of them. I want you to understand that we're not just playing games on this show. We're not. And this is the email screenshot that I sent to Jamie at San Diego State. Can you clarify what J.D. Wicker is saying here? Is J.D. saying that Dennis Dodd is reporting something that didn't happen? Are the facts in this story incorrect? What in this article is fake? And they have not responded to that email. And it just is another complete, just terrible behavior from San Diego State. It's just one of these things, and I don't understand. This is all self-inflicted. You never had to do this. If you were going to get into the Pac-12, which is really where all this started, did you really need to say the pro rata we deserve? How did that help you with anybody?
And by the way, why doesn't any other team say that? Why doesn't any other university talk about pro ratas?
Because the Pac-12 has never had a pro rata.
Oh, that's right. You don't know what a pro rata is. Idiots.
It is.
Like, it's idiotic. It's irresponsible.
It is
to
foolish.
Run this stuff out here.
It is foolish. And again, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page here, because I don't pretend in any way, shape, or form, and I don't want anybody to think this is what we're doing. By the way, show 1000 on the Monty Show. This is show 1000. In San Diego State, congratulations. You get to lead the way on show 1000.
Yeah.
But this is not personal to me. People get upset with us all the time. And it's usually because of situations like this, where an administrator like J.D. Wicker will get on Twitter and he will attack journalists who report facts. And then when you say, hey, can you explain to me what is not factually based here? What is fake in this article? And then they don't want to explain that.
Look at the Mark Harlan thing with Dennis Dodd, right? Because Mark Harlan did something up this alley, not nearly as bad, right? The give me a break tweet and the infamous we're not leaving tweet. But what was the difference with Mark Harlan's behavior? And I think this is a key point. Mark Harlan inevitably ends up apologizing to Dennis Dodd.
That's right.
Inevitably ends up making it good because he understands, hey, as an administrator at a prestigious university like the University of Utah, I need to go out of my way to say, hey, Dennis, I was frustrated in that moment reading your article. I didn't mean to disparage you publicly, and I apologize for what I said. But San Diego State never does that, which is why I continue to say I feel like San Diego State is a university full of administrators that have the little brother syndrome. And what I mean by that is you're constantly chasing the big fish. You're constantly chasing P5 status, which makes you feel like instead of doing business the proper way, right, and having conversations and figuring out the correct way to get into a P5, you want to come out here and you just want to yap. You're the yapping dog at the dog park that won't shut the hell up. That's what you are right now, and it's a bad look. And yeah, cool. If San Diego State fan wants to be upset today, that's fine. But don't be upset with us. Be upset with J.D. Wicker. Be upset with Adela De La Torre. Be upset with the people that run that institution, because I firmly believe if you had better leadership, you'd have been in the Big 12 already. I really do believe that.
I think like if the Seth Davis thing had never happened, if the Pac-12 letter had never happened, or Really, the letter detailing, hey, we need to withdraw, but we need a payment plan and we need an extra 30 days to make a decision. If you had never written that letter, if you had never said the pro rata we deserve, if you hadn't called out Dennis Dodd, who's one of the most well-respected journalists in all of college sports.
By anyone's measure.
If you hadn't done that, I think you'd be in the Big 12.
Like, just go, make your tournament run, and ride the coattails of that for as long as possible. It's not hard. Like, hey, Brett Yormark, we just made a deep tournament run. Hey, Brett Yormark, let me give you a fake stat about how good we are in football. We have one of the highest win percentage in the last 10 years in college football, even though we play in the Mountain West with a weak-ass schedule every year. Right?
Yep.
Run that out there with Brett and see what his reaction is. You never know.
And they don't want accountability. That's the thing that I struggle with so much is I don't even care necessarily that you're attacking good, hardworking media members. People that are no different than garbage men or lawyers or doctors or construction workers. They're just hardworking people. Dennis Dodd is really good at what he does. So attacking him and saying it's fake news and any fake stories, how do fake stories get written? That's where you lose me.
Yeah.
If J.D. Wicker would have said, hey, I'm going to call Dennis Dodd and I'm going to clarify some of the points in his article, I can 100% respect that. But when you call a guy a liar and you question his professionalism, dude, I can't get down with that, especially after everything that we've seen San Diego State do. So, and I'll leave it up to you guys. You're the, do you agree? Because my feeling on San Diego State, my unvarnished feeling is San Diego State's a damaged brand now, and I think it's why they didn't get an invite from the Big 12. I think it's why they can't draw P5 attention, and I think it's why, in this story, according to Dennis Dodd, I think it's why Adela De La Torre was not able to muster any energy to complete this thing that she was trying to do. And listen, I'm trying to give San Diego State the benefit of the doubt. J.D. Wicker says it never happened. It's fake news. Where did it come from? What actually did happen? That's my question. Because I just don't understand the logic of Dennis Dodd at CBS Sports writing this piece and making something up.
Did you just wake up today and be like, yeah, dude, I'm gonna need to go ahead and write a hit piece on San Diego State today, alleging that they led a coup to start another, conference that would try to retain the Pac-12's former P5 status, because we all know that the remnants of the Pac-12 in the Mountain West will not be a P5 conference. You will not get that rev payout. You will not have that kind of access. We all know that.
Yeah, and it's, the funny thing is we were trying to confirm this story. Leading up to the show, we were really trying to confirm the story. And the one quote that really stands out to me from one of the people we talked to today is their opinion that San Diego State is disappointing as usual, which is remarkable to me. Like, you're San Diego State. You are better than this. So be better than this. Yet you won't answer questions. You won't be held accountable. You won't put J.D. Wicker on the show or any other show, because notice it's not like J.D.'s doing a bunch of interviews. And hey, if we were just the hacks on YouTube and we had no idea what we were doing, and okay, I could totally get down with that. And you're like, you're terrible at your job. We're not putting J.D. Wicker on this hack of a show. Yet he's not anywhere because he can't answer the question.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to happen. So my question now is, what does the Mountain West do from here? Because I'm not exaggerating when I say I don't think you can just let this go on. I don't think that you can just keep being in business with people that are trying to allegedly and reportedly damage your business on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And if I am the remaining members of the Mountain West and I am Commissioner Navarez, I'm looking for sanctions against San Diego State. I want them to think twice and 3 and 4 times before they do what Dennis Dodd at CBS is alleging, which is poach the best, biggest remaining members of the Mountain West to put them with the 4 schools in the Pac-12 and the biggest names in the American to create a P5 conference. And it does not seem that far-fetched, because we already know through their own writing which they don't deny they wrote the letter, we already know that San Diego State doesn't want to be in the Mountain West.
Well, and it kind of has this feeling, at least for me, that it's like, hey, like, do Adela and JD just, have meetings and they're like, all right, well, what are we going to do? What can we do? What actually are our options here? How can we create, opportunity for ourselves? Which on its face, I agree with that concept. You always have to be trying to figure out how to give yourself more opportunity and more breathing room when it comes to realignment and what conference you're going to be in. But the idea that you think it's okay to try to create another conference from like 3 over here and 2 over there in the stale cereal that's been in the cupboard for a month, like, what are we doing? Like, how did you think that was going to work out? And that's really, for me, if I'm Brett Yormark, if I'm, any of these, like, really, if I'm the ACC commissioner, because you're not at this point, I don't think Brett's interested in you. You're definitely not interested to Greg Sankey or Tony Petitti.
But isn't this the same thing as Florida State?
No, I think it's worse than Florida State. I think Florida State has been public. I think Florida State has spoken. And it's okay if you disagree. And I do disagree with what Florida State is saying, right? I disagree with how they've gone about it. But, hey, at least they're on record. At least dude has balls enough to come out and be like, yeah, dude, we're upset that UCF was able to get to the Big 12, and we're upset that we're not getting a share of the revenue that's much larger than what the other schools do, because we believe we make more revenue than all the other schools. Hey, great. If that's your thing, great. But they've put it out there.
Yes.
I can't even quote JD Wicker. I haven't heard.
Correct.
Dude, I haven't heard from JD Wicker, and I don't even remember how long it's been since he talked to Seth Davis. You're trending into the, again, no joking, you're going with the George Kliavkoff strategy, which is, I'm just simply not going to talk. So then everybody in the comments section and all the San Diego State Aztec Nation people want to get upset with outlets like us for talking about this. Maybe if your guy talked and went on record and came on shows, again, doesn't have to be our show, go on another show, whatever. But go on a show that's going to ask you follow-up questions and have a legitimate, ethical, and logical conversation.
Because that's what needs to happen here.
Yeah.
San Diego State, and look, I don't know, is San Diego State feeling themselves? Did San Diego State get a little uppity in the middle of late spring, early summer? I feel like they did. Mm-hmm. I feel like they're the guys that were like, oh, we're gone, we're in, it's all good, we can start talking about this publicly.
You know what they did? They counted their money before the money got deposited. That's what they did. They said, yep, we're gone, it's going to happen, and then it didn't happen. And so if that's all you had done, I still think you would have been fine. But because of the letter, because of this Dennis Dodd article, like, even if Dennis Dodd's article is only 25% true, it's still a terrible look. Like, even if Adela only called one school and tried to get this done, it's still a terrible look.
It's an awful look. It is an awful look. And if you see, this is from Dennis Dodd's article at CBS Sports today. And as you hit the like button on the show, because there's 1,800 of you watching episode 1,000 of the Monty Show, which in and of itself is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. We are only 274 subscribers away from 23,000. So why don't you go ahead and hit the like button? And if you're not subscribed, all 1,854 of you, whoever's not subscribed, please consider hitting the subscribe button. As I read to you what Dennis Dodd wrote, San Diego State President Adela de la Torre was leading a push to assemble what would have amounted to a breakaway of the best schools from the Mountain West, the American, and the remnants of the Pac-12, Cal, Stanford, Oregon, and Washington State. To which, and again, fair is fair, John David Wicker, otherwise known as J.D. Wicker, the athletic director at San Diego State, flatly said, fake news, disappointed in the number of absolute fake articles that get written these days. And he says, hashtag integrity in journalism.
Yeah, and you know what my other problem with this is that fake news, the term fake news, no matter who you are, has a connotation with a certain individual who doesn't exactly have the highest level of integrity. So instead of rolling out fake news, maybe you could speak professionally, because, it's not like you're the athletic director of a major institution in the state of California, right? Maybe you could have said, hey, yeah, this just didn't happen. With all due respect to Dennis Dodd, this never happened. We didn't do this. But he can't say that because then he'd be lying because it did happen. That's the best point I think we make the whole show.
And that's all that you can assume here is that if San Diego State does not answer when you ask, hey, what is fake about this? What is dishonest about this? What lacks integrity about this? Because that's what we asked. This is the exact email, a screenshot of the email I sent to our guy at San Diego State. Hey, can you clarify? And the entire building is shaking right now.
Mm-hmm.
Can you clarify? And we've gotten no response on that. And I think you're right. This is worse than what's going on in the ACC.
Yeah.
I think at least Florida State is out in front torching the ACC.
And hey, maybe that's that. Not even maybe. I do think it's not a great strategy, but it is their strategy. And at least they deserve respect enough because they're on the record.
And they're doing media, and they're taking questions about it. And they have no bones about the fact that we make more money than everybody else. We deserve more money. We're going to leave so we get more money.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, that's a great position to be in. It means people don't like you, as we've talked about all week long. And by the way, I think it's really important to note the ACC met and took no action on Stanford and Cal. And there's a little more I want to get to on that in 2 minutes. But to wrap up this San Diego State thing, this is another very dark day for San Diego State. It's another day of humiliation. It's another day of embarrassment. It's another day of damage to the brand, and it's 100% self-inflicted.
Mm-hmm.
None of it ever had to happen. You don't hear this, and comparably speaking, you don't hear this from Boise State. You don't hear this from Fresno State, right? You don't hear these guys talking about breaking away and trying to form a P5 conference. I view San Diego State, Boise State, to a little lesser extent Fresno State, on very equal footing in that conference. Very equal footing. But you don't hear those guys complaining. They're scheming. They're working behind the scenes, I guarantee that, as they should be. And I actually have no problem. If it is true that Adela De La Torre tried to form a breakaway conference, I have no problem with that. I really don't. My problem begins where if it actually happened and you're calling an esteemed journalist a liar and questioning his integrity and his ethics
publicly.
Yeah, I have a problem with that. And then when you're invited on one of the biggest sports talk shows on YouTube to talk about it and you say we're going to pass, and then you don't reply to emails asking for clarification, that's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
That's where the problem begins.
Yeah.
For
and
me.
Again, for all the commenters, right? I'll just get ahead of it. I'm sure it's in the comments section. Haven't seen them yet. For all the people saying, oh, well, you guys just do a YouTube show. Okay, fine. Sure. Great.
I'm with that.
If that's, if you want to characterize us as that's fine. We are on YouTube. That doesn't mean we're doing a show in our basement, right? That's not what that means. It's two different things. But that's not even the point. They're not doing media at all.
None.
They're not even talking to the local newspaper. They're not doing the Michael Crow and talking to the institution's, newspaper. They're not going on podcasts like Ray Anderson did. They're not doing any of that. So don't tell me that it's just us being red asses and assholes and we're just unfair and, you guys just hate San Diego State. If you want to lie in that bed, San Diego State fan, and you want to tell yourself that story, that's fine. You can live with that. The reality of the situation is, as soon as they come out on record, they know they will look foolish. Because as soon as someone asks a follow-up question, as soon as Crapia from the Oregonian shows up on J.D. Wicker's front door, then they know they have a problem, right? So my point is, don't get mad at us. Get mad at J.D. Wicker. That's the guy responsible.
I think it is. And let's assume, real quick, because Salamini actually makes a really good point. And I don't know. I don't know if you are, and I'm sorry, we're getting 1,000,001 comments today, so I apologize. But Salamini was basically saying, "Hey, you guys keep saying if it's true, or well, I'm trying to give San Diego State the benefit of the doubt. When your athletic director comes out swinging at Dennis Dodd, I'm going to hope that this tweet is true, that it never happened, and it's complete bullshit that Dennis Dodd published at CBS. Yeah, the only problem with that is this is Dennis Dodd. This isn't Alex Jones or some alien dude. It's Dennis Dodd at CBS.
Infowars.com.
And I look at what Dennis wrote, and the problem is it's absolutely believable. From what we have seen of Adela De La Torre through this Pac-12, just the pro rata statement alone. And again, I don't know Adela De La Torre. We've asked her to come on the show. We've gotten flatly denied. I don't know her. I know her work. And her work speaks volumes about her ability to be an operator.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at the presidents that I think are elite in this area. Again, Taylor Randall, Bobby Robbins. When people speak, you know the goods. Brett Yormark, that's the goods. Kirk Schultz, that's not the goods. Right? That's not the goods. Not at all. Ray Anderson at Arizona State, that's not the goods. That's not the goods at all. Adela De La Torre at San Diego State, that's not the goods. When you say something like the pro rata we deserve, and then this story by Dennis Dodd comes out where, hey, it's a best of the Mountain West American and Pac-12, is that really such a stretch? Is that really unbelievable based on the actions we've seen from Adela De La Torre?
Mm-hmm.
Based on the actions we've seen from J.D. Wicker.
This is not a stretch that this would happen, dude.
I would not be surprised. Frankly, if I'm San Diego State, I wouldn't even think that's a bad move. I don't even think it's a bad move. The bad move happens when you refuse to talk about it, and then you rip a guy, and you refuse to be held accountable for that.
Yeah.
That's where the bad move is. And I think I see everybody talking about this. I think it's a big deal. I do. And I'd love here's Salamini. It's an unproven single source driven article created for clicks. So, listen, my guy, you're a regular on this show. I respect you. I'm not saying you're wrong. When has that ever been Dennis Dodd's MO? When has Dennis Dodd ever been the guy who's like, I got to write something because I'm not getting enough clicks. Let me fabricate a story and name names. Fabricating a story. Do you know how dangerous that is?
Yeah,
that's the stuff of millions of dollars in libel. That's the stuff, millions of dollars in, reputation damage. If it's such a lie, and Dennis Dodd, as Adam Salamini says, unproven single source driven article created for clicks, isn't that slander? If you're John David Wicker and you're Adela De La Torre, aren't you, instead of going after him on Twitter, aren't you going after him in the court system? Right? I mean, because he's saying that Dennis Dodd, if we're to believe J.D. Wicker, and if we're all Team Salamini, aren't we to believe that Dennis Dodd completely lied, completely fabricated this? One of the most respected and esteemed reporters in all of college sports decided on a Tuesday at like noon Eastern that he was just gonna fuck it. I'm all in. I'm making stuff up now.
Hey, don't we have a tweet from another administrator retweeting Dennis Dodd months before the Pac-12 collapse, talking about, hey, the four corner schools are going to leave?
Well, we had that tweet.
We had that tweet. Okay. We had that tweet at one point. The point is, that didn't really work out either, right? Everyone said, oh, Dennis Dodd, fake news, he's lying, and then here we are.
Mark Harlan from the athletic director at Utah, that was the famous give me a break.
In December.
And
then here we are. So, look, if you want to be the guy, and Salamini, I'm not trying to make it personal with you, but you're the guy giving us a bunch of crap on Twitter about this too, so you have it coming a bit here. Like, if you want to be the guy that's going to say that Dennis Dodd's making up stories for clicks, you should probably learn which tree to bark up and which one not to bark up. The guy has no need to make up stories for clicks. Notice He's not behind a paywall, right? Last time I checked, Dennis Dodd's not behind a paywall.
He's not.
Right? So Dennis Dodd doesn't need the clicks. Dennis Dodd doesn't need people to go running through his Twitter. Dennis Dodd doesn't care whether you agree or not. In fact, Dennis Dodd needs guys like you, Salamini, to roll out on Twitter and say he's a liar and he's fake. Because what happens? Right? CBS Sports benefits immensely because what does that do? Everybody starts reading the article. Everybody sees the ads on Dennis Dodd's story, right? So before you roll out and say that, hey, it's clickbait and it's fake and you guys just hate San Diego State and X, Y, and Z, you have to consider the ramifications of what you're saying, whether you're Salamini or you're J.D. Wicker. That's how this game is played. And so I just don't understand what the affinity is with hating on Dennis Dodd. He's not John Canzano. John Canzano works behind a paywall. John Canzano needs people to pay for his stuff. So, to do that, you create headlines. You create things that may not necessarily be true.
SMU is going to pay a $70 million entry fee to get into the Pac-12. Read it behind my paywall by paying X amount of dollars.
Oh,
Dennis Dodd is at CBS Sports, CBS HQ, CBSSports.com. The link is on my Twitter. You're free to go and read it. Are we really, you guys, and Salamini, I'm curious if you truly believe, you really think that Dennis Dodd just straight up fabricated this story?
It's incredible.
You think that Dennis Dodd just said, nah, bro, I'm going to lie. I'm going to make up this story right now. Come on. I think do you really believe that?
And if you do, we'll just agree to disagree because I think you're off your rocker if you believe that.
San Diego State Aztec Glenn gives us $20 to say, hate to say it, I've stomached much of what's been said here to date. But Jake, your fake news comment observation is exactly what I was thinking when I read Wicker's comment in real time. Not a good last 2-3 months. And I agree with that 100%. And this is why I continue to say, San Diego State, dude, you're better than this.
Glenn, I appreciate you, bro.
So be better than this. Like the whole, I don't even care that fake news means he made it up. You're calling him a liar. And there's just no evidence to that. And why not come out? Why, if you're San Diego State and you're Adela Della Torre and you're J.D. Wicker, why wouldn't you sit down with your local San Diego TV station or whoever your go-to sports guy is?
Your Aztec podcast.
And have an open, honest discussion about it. Give your alumni, like Glenn is one of the most passionate supporters of an institution we have on this show.
Correct.
Glenn, San Diego State Aztec, loves him some San Diego State Aztec.
And by the way, for all of those who are new to the show, me and Glenn have gone to battle on this show. Me and Glenn have gone to blows over San Diego State on this show right here. And so that's why I say I appreciate what Glenn has to say here, even if it is your university. Like, I'm not trying to say that San Diego State as a university overall is shit. I'm not saying that.
Not at all.
But what I am saying is that the athletic department right now is causing much more problems for itself than it needs to. You don't have to write letters. You don't have to tweet. And by the way, I think the best point here is if you're so married to this stance that this is fake news and Dennis Dodd is lying, then come out and talk about it. Because do you understand, as an administrator on J.D. Wicker's level, if you're going to do this to somebody, don't you have to be married to that take? Don't you forever have to be on the hill of, hey, this is fake news, never happened? But you're never going to come out and talk about it. And that's what I think is a bad look. I'm cool. I've always been cool with people who have opposing views. If you want to say the sky is red instead of blue, we can argue about that if you're willing to talk about it. But if you're just going to go on and be a keyboard warrior like the average fan, and then you're not going to talk about it, what are we doing?
That's a hard pill to swallow. That is a hard pill to swallow. More of you, less of us, you guys. It's our 1,000th show. We couldn't have done it without you. Thank you so much. We get more than 5,000 comments a day on this show. Thank you so much for that. We're pushing 23,000 subscribers. We are now just 258 subscribers away from 23,000. Let's get this done today. Hit the subscribe button. Please give us a thumbs up. Hit the like. It really, really helps our channel grow. Thank you for that. Couple of new members to shout out today. Big shout out to Chris George.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go, Chris George. Appreciate you. Domer Wop.
Domer.
Oh. Let's go, Domer Wop. Brother Bigfoot gives us $5. Congrats on 1,000 episodes. Best show back to front. Appreciate you. See, back to front.
See what he did there?
Yeah.
Jake, as the show
Back to front.
as the show's representing Virgin, Jake is
Right.
absolutely a back to front guy.
Right.
So we appreciate that. Domer Wop for $2. Mountain West needs to tell San Diego State, go get your shine box. Dude, if you're San Diego State, if you're the Mountain West, I don't know how you trust San Diego State. I really don't.
Yeah.
I really, really don't. Dibs for $5. San Diego State's that yipping Chihuahuas.
Seriously.
They just are so thirsty.
Yep.
They're just so thirsty. It's incredible. Tom Dean for $10. Thank you, Tom. Good to see you. Here's to 1,000 shiny new pennies for 1,000 shows. By the way, Monty, next time Jake asks you for something, reply to him with, as you wish, Princess Butterbutt.
Well.
As you wish.
And pardon me.
Princess Butterbutt. Stan, do you want to take back your comment about Trump and fake news, or do you want to get Bud Lighted? Well, I think that terminology, I don't care about the whole Trump thing, wrong show, different show. The whole term fake news, it's just a tactic to deflect what is real news.
Yeah.
That's the truth. And again, I think as it applies to San Diego State, the fake news term is not you lied, this never happened. It's simply a can't believe how many fake stories get written. And again, this is what J.D. Wicker, the athletic director at San Diego State, wrote. He retweeted Dennis Dodd's article. So he took the link and embedded it and said, fake news, disappointed in the number of absolute fake articles that get written these days.
We're a victim. Everybody hates us. Fake news.
Integrity in journalism. Hashtag integrity in journalism. What he's doing there, Stan, is he's trying to deflect from the fact that either this never really happened, which why didn't you say this is completely false?
Yeah.
This never happened. Notice he just said fake news. Notice he didn't say it didn't happen. There are unequivocal ways. If something is completely fabricated, there's easy ways to say this is completely fabricated. It never happened.
And it just, you know what, dude? I have no problem saying it. It lacks class overall. I don't even care that he disagrees with the article. The point is not that you disagree. The point is that you're classless. There are better ways to say, hey, this never happened. But again, he's never going to deny it actually happened, because then he's got to come out and talk about it. Then he forces Dennis Dodd's hand, right? At some point, there's a fine line, which is why I say, dude, you can run that crap out about, Donnie and all this other stuff. I'm not here to talk about Donnie.
No.
I'm here to talk about a phrase that everyone and their mom uses now to deflect from the conversation. It's not fake news, JD. It's not. It is what Dennis Dodd is being told from his network of sources. And it's so funny how you don't comment on all his other stories.
Yeah.
Right? Where was the fake news mantra on what's happening in the ACC? Where was fake news when he was talking about, the Pac-12 falling apart? You didn't say fake news then because that didn't work out for you, right? Fake news wouldn't have worked out when Dennis Dodd wrote in December that the four corner schools were leaving and you weren't going to, in fact, get that pro rata you deserved. So I'm not really here for, hey, do you want to take back your comment? No, I don't, because I think it's a bad look for an administrator to roll out fake news when you're supposed to be at a very prestigious university, which you are, in my opinion. San Diego State is a great school, and you represent them in such a poor fashion. That's the issue.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. Kyle A. says, Brett doesn't seem like the type of guy who puts up with that. San Diego State seems to think they are a bigger brand than they are.
Yeah.
We always talk about it on the show. You got to know who you are and where you are. And I think as an athletic department, San Diego State made the Pac-12 mistake, which is they overvalued themselves. So you wind up asking for far too much in return. And it's somebody like, SMU, Nicole Auerbach at The Athletic is reporting the ACC is vetting SMU to add them with Stanford and Cal. Well, it's how SMU is getting added to the ACC and San Diego State may not be.
Right.
Which is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. San Diego State is in one of the most luscious financial sectors of this country when it comes to TV viewership.
Yes.
And not a major conference has come calling.
Facts.
How do you explain that? Other than I think there's a lot of people who don't want to do business with them. Hey, my guy Jet Wayman, what's up? The Tile King of Utah. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Congratulations on show 1000. It's been a hell of a ride, guys. Yes, it has.
Appreciate you, Jet.
Jet, you've been here from day one, man. And we appreciate you. Really appreciate you. Matt Riley for $5. Folks, it was a lie. Then San Diego State would be telling us they're looking at their legal options.
Right? Like,
I totally agree. If it were a lie, they'd be talking to their lawyers. JC for $2. Another shot at Fresno State. Why, Monty? Angry Fresno State fan. Well,
dude, you're pissing off Fresno State fan. We can't have that, dude. Come
I
on.
love my friends in good old Reedley, California.
Yeah.
I do. But Fresno, Tucky, listen, man, I don't dislike Fresno State. But what is our mantra on this show? The truth in sports talk. The truth in sports talk is Fresno State doesn't have the draw. They don't have the tradition. They don't I would take San Diego State far before I would take Fresno State.
Facts.
Far before
Yes.
Fresno State. I think Fresno State is just, with all due respect, Fresno Tucky is in a very interesting area. And I think Cal and Stanford are far more of a draw. I think you look at Oregon State and Washington. Well, let's not get carried away. Oregon State's far more of a draw. San Diego State's far more of a draw. But honestly, I'd take Fresno State over SMU.
Mm-hmm.
But you're effed. You're in a weird spot. You know, like it's not a shot if it's true. Anthony says Dennis Dodd has a terrible track record on realignment. Might be the case. But is he a liar, and does he make up stories for clicks?
Yeah, and again, I'm not in the business of defending Dennis, but I'd love to hear what terrible track record, what cases you have.
He's been wrong on expansion stuff. There's no doubt about it. Not everybody can be perfect like such as and like myself.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Jonas for $5. Or Jones. Oh, I was going to say we love your music. Jake Hedberg video of Oregon State AD joking around about realignment. Yikes. And I'm a huge Scott Barnes fan. He is the athletic director at Oregon State. LB Seminole, who's been a member for 5 months. Thank you, LB. Says hashtag Monty1000. Kaufman says, get job as always. Keep it up. Good job as always. I appreciate that. Jerry Davis, San Diego State coach Brady Hoke has been very quiet during all of this. Yes, he has. Got to think he steps down at the end of the season if the board doesn't fire the AD and president for incompetence. I don't know about that. San Diego State's a hell of a job.
Yeah.
Because the minute you win at San Diego State,
Yeah.
you're gold. You're gold. No doubt about that. Barfing Chickens. Congrats on 100 or on 1,000, guys. Nice to see the hacks on YouTube can almost all of conference realignment correctly and blow up in the process. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I know that a lot of you are here for NBA. That's how you started on this show. We talk a ton of football. And yeah, this is our 1,000th show. It's wild.
Yes.
It is absolutely wild. And the argument is, do we keep numbering the shows now?
Yeah, so are you team number or team just like, hey, the Monty Show, it's August 9th?
Yeah, I think I'm not a number guy after today. I think 1,000's cool. You know, again, we're only 250 subscribers away from 23,000.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's interesting. San Diego State Glenn says, my once proud school continues to embarrass itself after building up so much goodwill during the NCAA tournament. You guys are throwing so much shade, but you are right. Appreciate all the work you do. Thanks, Glenn.
I appreciate you.
And again, I want people to understand, there is no favorites played on this show. The truth is the truth, and there's no way to to separate. That's why like the fake news thing is just so annoying, because it's either the truth or it's a lie. And if it's a lie and you want to call out a lie about yourself, do it. Do it. Come correct, man. Make sure that people, hey, we're not going to tolerate lying about San Diego State.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, if that's what you're doing, I'm good with that. I am for passionate defense.